We have one more young Indian with us today, Voice of the Young segment. Hello, everyone. Good to be back. Right now, we have with us Ankita Ghosh. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Ankita.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to be here, first of all. And good evening, or good morning, or good night to whoever is watching this video right now. This is a great initiative, to be honest. I think it's a great initiative for all the young viewers out there who are taking their steps into their careers. And it's good to be a part of that journey. So, a little bit of an introduction from my end. My name is Ankita. I have quite a weird academic career journey so far. I currently am a student of Masters of Research in Economics at UPF, which is basically the first 2 years of PhD here. And I did my bachelor's in engineering.
When you say here, just say where it is this here.
Yeah. I am currently a student at Universitat Pompeu Fabra, that is UPF in Barcelona. Okay. And earlier I did my bachelor's in engineering from NIT Durgapur. After that, I did 2 years of MBA from Invdl. Then I worked for a couple of years. Then I went on to do another master's in economics. And right now here I am doing master's in research or PhD, the first years of PhD at Universitat Pompeu Fabra, that is UPF. Just to give a little bit of insight about my journey so far. So when I was doing my engineering back in India, well, I can't say that I hated engineering or I disliked my course. I was doing chemical engineering at that point of time. I did like some of the subjects. I did like some of the courses. They were quantitative, which is what I liked the most. And it was a good experience overall for me. But then engineering in a classroom, or let's say doing practicals, is very different from when you have to go on site in industry, in industrial plants. So that's a very different experience. And so I felt that maybe I'm not very much suited to, let's say, work in an industrial plant, or I felt that it wasn't really my thing at that point of time, which is why I kind of pivoted and went on to, start preparing for CAT. So it was like another exam for me to give. And I hadn't put a lot of thought about whether doing MBA was the best thing to do at that point of time or not. But thankfully enough, I got into Invdl. And I think it's during that point, or it's kind of like the pivoting point in my life where I started to actually put in efforts and started to figure out what I like and what I don't like. So it was, I think I had never actually had a background in economics so far.
Yeah.
And I had never taken any courses in economics. I think in engineering, there were like a few electives maybe, but I never ended up taking them. I always used to choose mathematics as my elective.
Right.
And so it was during the first term of MBA that I got introduced to microeconomics. And that it was a very introductory level microeconomics. That's, I think, the first undergrad level microeconomics that was taught there, because MBA schools are basically focused on finance, marketing, and they are not very economics focused, or let's say they do not look that much into the quantitative side of economics. So it wasn't a very in-depth course. It was a very introductory level course. But I think that was the starting point. I still remember it was like the first few classes went smoothly. It wasn't like I really started liking it just from the very first class. I think it was around the 5th class as we started getting a little bit in depth into the topics, market structure, etc., that it started resonating more with me. I mean, I figured it also had a lot of quant part in it. And I remember I went up to my professor, who was very kind, to give me some suggestions and advices as to how to proceed, given that I was not at all an econ grad and I had no clue what I wanted to get into. After that, he suggested that, next term, we would have a macro course, which was again an introductory level course, and probably I should take that and see how things go from there. Luckily for me, I ended up liking macro even more because I feel it just gives you a little bit more, understanding of what's happening around you. So when you read newspapers, everything starts to make sense once you get a little bit flavor or just a basic understanding of macro. So I think that was the second biggest, let's say, turning point in my life. And from then onwards, I ensured that in the rest of the semesters, I take up as many econ electives that I could. Now, here's the point where I started going a bit, let's say, differentiating my portfolio of electives, because in B schools, what happens is people take only those electives which will help them in the future during placements. And people who want to go into finance, let's say they'll take up a ton of finance electives, or marketing. People will take a lot of marketing electives, etc., etc. But here I was.
By the way, let me interrupt you here. Is there any evidence that this works, or the companies just hire people anyway? And does it really matter how about electives you took?
To be honest, I was a bit concerned because when I was starting to take economics electives, more econ electives rather than finance, let's say, and I saw my peers were very focused, placement focused, I was a bit worried. But I think at the end, knowledge matters a lot, because I remember in one of my interviews with one of the banks, they asked me an economics course question and not a finance related question. And luckily, I had taken that particular econ course, which is why I could answer. And a lot of people couldn't, I would say. I mean, frankly speaking, he was a bit surprised when I answered the question because he wasn't expecting me to. So I think, and I also feel in during interviews, B school interviews, all the interviewers specifically ask you what's your area of interest. And if you tell them it's economics or it's finance, and if you have a basic understanding of the subject, then you can be through. Because after all, when you go into the professional world, you wouldn't know anything about what is to be done on the first day, and you will learn. So that's all they check, whether you can learn and whether you work hard or not. So that's about it.
All right, good. That I just wanted to hear you say it as to how you feel about it. All right, good. Let's continue.
Yeah. And so, so I ensure that I take as much econ electives that was available, which weren't many, but still I made sure that I took enough just to get a background of the subject. And after the placements, I wasn't really thinking very seriously about pursuing econ. I mean, it was at the back of my mind. But then I thought that, you know what, let me do the job first. Let me experience how corporate world is and get some industry experience. And then maybe I'll think a bit more about this. So I wasn't really thinking seriously. It was just there sitting in the back of my mind. And I started working at Deutsche Bank, and I worked there for 3.5 years. And I think that was a very beautiful journey for me. I gained a ton of skills, and it was a very useful experience because I have been a student for like 6 years and after college, and I didn't have any work experience. So as a student, when you talk with your teachers, interact with your peers, and then you move to the professional world and you start interacting with your colleagues and your clients and your supervisors, I think there's a huge jump in personal growth and your soft skills, the communication skills, and as a person, you grow a lot. So that was a very, very useful journey for me, because I think the skills that I got during that experience would also help me somewhere down the future. And but I was working at Deutsche, so I was working in corporate banking.
Where were you living at that time?
I first joined in Bombay. I worked there for initial 6 to 7 months. And then I was posted in the Bangalore office, where I worked for the rest of my stint.
Okay.
Yeah. And since I was working in the banking sector, So it was also pretty close to economics because you always keep on hearing terms about RBI banking guidelines,
Yeah.
MPC meetings and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that was sort of another push towards pursuing econ. And I would say it was during or a little bit after COVID when I started seriously thinking about pursuing economics. But it was also like all my batchmates, all my peers, they were very career focused in the sense that they were just looking to change jobs or maybe, go into a different role, a better role. But nobody was going back to academia. So that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
it was
It's
a
over.
different,
Studying
yeah.
is
So
over and done with. You have an MBA and it's over, right?
exactly. I mean, that's how people view MBA degree as. Once you get a job, that's it.
Yeah.
No more going back to studying. So that was a point where I was a bit confused, or let's say I wasn't readily able to take this step to pursue another master's because it's very uncommon. It's not like nobody has ever done it, but it was still pretty uncommon. But so I gave myself sort of an ultimatum that, I'll give myself a year and I'll pursue a master's for max to max a year. And if I like it, good enough. If I don't, I go back to my job. That turned out to be a little bit of a pain point because there are not many one-year masters available. And the ones that are available, they always kind of need a bachelor's degree in economics or some background. But I still had to work with that. And I ended up doing my master's in Barcelona School of Economics. That was a tough decision, leaving the job. But anyway, I took it. And to be honest, it was a great experience because in the first 3 months, when I was formally doing all the economics courses, I had never done econometrics before. I had done statistics, but not econometrics. I knew there is something called linear regression, but well, no more exposure than that.
Yeah.
And I literally enjoyed each and every course. And I think that's when I started to realize that I really resonate with the subject and probably I want to pursue higher studies even after this.
So did they give you a scholarship or you had to pay for it?
Oh, I had to pay for it, which is why working for 3.5 years was a good deal, to be honest. I mean, because this is something that I wanted to do. So I had decided I had to fund it myself. And then, from there on, I had applied to the PhD here, didn't think much about it because I wasn't sure if my profile still fits. I just had like 3 months of econ experience. But I mean, thankfully I got in and here I am now doing the master's in research and hoping things turn out for the best.
Okay. Look, you have had success all your life, even though it was unplanned success and not a linear path, but you have had success. I mean, NIT Durgapur is pretty good. IIM Indore is pretty good. Deutsche Bank is pretty good. Barcelona is pretty good. So it's not like you have not had success. You have had plenty of success. It's just that you don't know what you want. But now I think it's time to decide, I guess, right?
Yeah. So I think what I personally felt was I always kind of liked the quantitative side of things. And although engineering is quantitative, but I think it's more physics, and I don't think I liked the background. And I think that's why when I kind of got introduced to economics, I felt I could resonate more with it. Oh, it also has a lot of quantitative part, but yeah, economics is something that I can resonate with more. So hopefully that works out.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of advice to people, just few pointers maybe.
Sure.
People who are maybe transitioning from a very different background to economics, and they don't have maybe a lot of quant courses. Like I didn't have theoretical math classes. In engineering, it's very applied. So maybe those people, maybe they should have a look at theoretical mathematical proof courses like real analysis, etc., so that they know what they're getting into, because that's how the economic PhD journey starts. And also people maybe who are in the corporate careers and want to transition into research positions or want to get into a academic career. Maybe they should, it's good if they have a little bit of research stint earlier. That helps that helps them get a little bit of better perspective and idea about what they're getting into. And lastly, a very generalized lesson that I feel I have learned is that, I mean, I know life is super like it's super fast nowadays. Everything is super competitive, and I think people younger than me are are struggling even more with the competition. But I think everyone has their own journey in their life, so maybe just focus on yours and do the best. I think that should work out well.
Okay,
That's
that's
all from
great.
my end.
And here's a somewhat personal question which you may decline to answer. How was
Yeah.
your parents and others with it?
So it was, I wouldn't say it was that I had to struggle a lot to explain it to them. So the thing is, as a kid or as a child, I never liked to study. So
So says
the
the PhD
irony,
scholar.
the irony is with the too big, it was a very big, thing for them to accept initially. After I got the job and 2 3 years down the line, they were like, and I said that I want to go back to studies, do economics, and they were a bit stunned, surprised. They didn't understand it at the first go, but they did agree after a little bit of discussion for my master's.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, when they saw me, getting excited about, things I'm learning here, even right now. So, they understand that I like it. So I think it's a bit difficult for them to, it was a bit difficult for them to understand before, but I think they have understood it now. So, I know it's difficult to deal with parents sometime, but I'm sure every parent just wants their kid to be happy. So now that they see I'm happy, everything is fine. So
All right.
no struggle.
Okay. And how is it to live in a country that is not English speaking? Basically, the courses may be in English, but it's a
Yeah.
Spanish speaking country.
So
How was it for you?
so it was a bit difficult in the earlier days, but you just kind of catch on with the most used phrases while you are going out for shopping or buying groceries. You just catch on with the phrases, and I'm also starting to learn Spanish a bit now that I do live here for quite a long time. But Google Translator always helps you out some way or
Or
the
that
other.
it's you mean to say you speak into the phone and it speaks Spanish, or it just gives you the text?
It just gives me the text. Sometimes but they do, most of the people do know a little bit of broken English.
Yeah.
So, with some gestures, a little bit of broken English, the
Uh,
communication just takes place.
okay. So it's not an issue. How's the food?
Food is great. I would say the weather is the best. I mean, I don't find it extremely cold or extremely hot. And I think the weather is the best part of the city. And also, I think Barcelona is like, it's very multicultural. There are tons of people from everywhere around the world. So I have actually had been to an exchange program earlier during my MBA, and I was in France. Um, but I think living here, I would definitely choose Barcelona as a place to live in Europe, because you just don't feel the difference at all. Like if you're walking down the streets, kind of gives you a very homely vibe, for some reason. At least that's my personal opinion.
No, I'm just asking your personal
Yeah.
experience. I'm not asking a sample survey, just how you feel, because others may listen to you and think, hey, maybe I can apply in Spain too. Hopefully, I'll get a scholarship and won't have to pay for it. But, they may be thinking, is this a place that
Yeah.
we can go to? And I've had another student, Indian student from in Barcelona come here before, and she also said that it's okay. There's no issue at all. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
hearing you say, that there
You
is,
can blend in easily in this city, I feel.
yeah, and the food is good and all that. Okay, so it's fine. Okay, all right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it from my end.
Okay, fine. So let's end it here. maybe in 1 year we will talk to you again and see whether you are doing a course in architecture or anthropology now. Who knows? It might be that. Maybe you say, no, it's all about anthropology. All right, we'll see you then. Let's say bye to the viewers now. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.